and stroking our double chins. Or whatever you call this. Yeah, that was interesting. But they were darling, and we loved having them with us, and we got some great pictures of them. And then that afternoon, Shelley surprised us, and she had arranged for a driving tour through downtown Port-au-Prince, which we really weren't prepared for and didn't really know what that meant. But 13 of us got in one of those tap-taps. The driver, Emmanuel, in the front seat with Shelley and, I forget, one of the boys, and then all of us and 2 more big boys in the back that were kind of our chaperones / bodyguards. I mean, just bodyguard in the effect that it keeps people from getting in to go for a ride, because the tap-taps are like a taxi, and this is a private one that Shelley has her own driver, and so he took just us. And so we were about 20 minutes from downtown, and it's pretty hard to describe our experiences in the downtown area, but I'll do my best. It was pretty emotional because we got out of the tap-tap and we walked around through the crowded commercial area, and we felt really awkward. This was probably the most uncomfortable that we were the whole time we were there, because since we weren't there to really buy anything, and this is where people are, they're displaced out of their buildings because of the earthquake, so they're all on the streets selling their stuff. And here were 9 white women and a few black boys walking along, and we were just sort of feeling like looky-loos, you know, it was just weird. It just felt bad, but having Junior with us and Shelley and Novens, and they could speak the language, so we felt that they could handle whatever came our way. But one of our last stops was at this cathedral that had major damage from the earthquake, and we accidentally got split up into two groups, which wasn't such a good thing, to take pictures of the devastation. And all of a sudden we realized that we were kind of being surrounded by people, and it turns out that they were beggars. And it was pretty hard to walk away from a fellow with the crutches, and I think he just had one leg, and a lady holding up her broken arm, and then the man who had the baby who was burned, that I couldn't look at, whose mom died in the earthquake. And pretty soon we realized we needed to get out of there, but it felt so wrong to not be able to help. But it became clear that we needed to, and we were told we couldn't do, you can't give money, you can't do anything, because it would have made it worse. And Junior actually said something to them as we got back in, and we found out that he said they're already here helping some other Haitian people, and we just said, I'm sorry, and we had to move on. So that experience became one of the turning points for us. Sorry, you guys. As we tried to process it, on our own and not talk about it. I think if we don't talk about it, it'll go away and it won't bother us. Well, that's not the way it happened, because God really brought us back together through that and really brought us into prayer, and because our hearts were broken that day with what breaks God's heart, and we actually thanked Him for that experience, because it was such an important and precious time for us. And it helped us to refocus on why we were there, and to really turn ourselves back over to God, and to really make our prayer time and our Bible time a priority. And I think we all just sort of thought that we could do it on our own, but we couldn't. So it was a precious time. And when we returned from downtown, it was a surprise, because Shelley knew that I kind of wanted to see Child Hope International. And so all of a sudden she stopped the tap-tap, and I said, what are we doing? And she said, well, this is Child Hope. It's like, oh, okay. So 3 of us and Junior got out, and we went looking for the Ellensburg group that was there. And at first we were told that they were napping, and so I thought, okay, well, we'll just go back to the Parent Project. And we started walking, and there was this gate open. And I looked, and there was Chad Youngquist, who's the project manager, and he saw me, and we waved, and we ran over there, and they were having a Tom's shoe drop thing where they were giving out Tom's shoes to these little Haitian kids in the area, and so they were pretty busy. But we went in, and we saw Jake and Cody Axtell, and and Paul Arnold and Buck Newby and Kathy Honeysett and all the whole group from Ellensburg that was there, and just had time to kind of take a picture and say hi. And we never saw them again that week, but just knowing that they were there was really comforting, I think, for us, and especially for me, because then I kind of had an idea what Roger was going to be doing the next week when he came down. Excuse me just a second. Then we had the treat of going on a walking tour through the surrounding community around where we were, which is called Clareville. And she asked us if we wanted the 30-minute tour or the 60-minute tour, and we said, we'll take 60, and it turned out to be 120, but that's okay. That's okay. It was good, and it was later in the afternoon, almost toward dinner time, so it wasn't too hot. And we saw some homes that had been destroyed. It was just interesting how there'd be a home here that was destroyed, and one here, and then all of these homes that were still intact. And there was lots of building going on, and people living in tents, people living in houses, and then several brightly colored houses. I don't know if I have any pictures of this is on the walk through the neighborhood, and I think this is the property. Is this the property that Shelley's looking at that she'd like to buy with the dream of building 40 homes for a community for her artisans? And the highlight up in the top left corner of that was Macaulay, which Wendy told you about. We walked all the way up to the top of this hill and we got to see her house, and she was so proud. And we saw her tents along the way. And then there's an example of the brightly colored houses that the Apparent Project has purchased or has built, in conjunction with a Dutch organization. And from the first time we met Rodney, he told us he'd like to take us to see his home. And so it just kind of kept getting postponed, but finally I think it was Wednesday, and he said, can we go to my home? Well, Rodney lived in a 5,000 people tent city, just 2 or 3 blocks from where we were. And so he came and got us, and we walked through the tent city way back in the back part and wound through. I'd never be able to find it if I had to find it on my own, and down this hill into to this tent where he lived. And that's his mom in the back holding the baby, and sisters, and they have a friend that lives with them, and we're not sure if the little guy in front belongs to him or if he just wanted to be in the picture. But Rodney was so proud to show us his home, and his mother, even though she had a headache that day, she wanted to come out, and she said it was okay that we took pictures, and so we took pictures with them. And it touched us to see Rodney, as we were walking back, a little boy fell along the side of the road and lost his shoe and fell down, and Rodney was the first one to just go over there and help him and put the shoe on. And we learned that in Haiti that the men are the nurturers, not the women. And we saw that more than else. It was just interesting to see these mothers that really didn't pay that much attention to their children, but the men really did. And I just want to add, I know we're running late, but we have lots more to say. So if you feel like leaving, it won't hurt our feelings. But I just wanted to add, as far as excursions, that I had the privilege, with a question mark, of going on one more excursion than anyone else. And I figured that God must have had a lesson to teach me, because I'd said I wasn't going to do any, right? And that was back to the airport. And the airport in Port-au-Prince was probably our least favorite place, and you'll hear a little bit more about that in a minute. But I got to go an extra time because my bag was lost at the beginning. And I tried to come up with all the reasons why I shouldn't be the one to go back, and they told me that anybody can pick up my bag, and Shelley said, no, you need to pick up the bag. So I got to go back, and it was a God thing, because Corrigan drove me, and it gave us a chance to visit one-on-one, and he got to share a little bit more with me about his home situation, and the fact that his mother, who lives in Oregon, refuses to go to Haiti. How could you not go to Haiti with those 4 beautiful grandchildren? But she's fearful and distrustful and almost angry that he would take his family there, which is so hurtful for him. So it really gave us an opportunity to visit, and I got a chance to pray with him. So